The Navy's escalating the war on the cartels, so buckle up. This ride's gonna hit you harder than your face if you accidentally stole a Navy SEAL team member's girlfriend at a wedding. Yeah, you think you're as smooth as Vince Vaughn and Wedding Crashers, and then all of a sudden, boom!
Oh, that's my loser.
Welcome everybody to a pulse-pounding deep dive into the United States Navy's relentless fight against drug cartels. We're talking state-of-the-art warships, stealthy underwater drones, and elite special forces hitting cartels like John Wick casually walking into a room full of goons saying, "I'm thinking I'm back."
I'm thinking I'm back.
Today we're breaking down how the Navy's turning up the heat with tech like the Aegis combat system and the Manta Ray drone, backed by real government moves in 2025, plus 4 gripping hypothetical scenarios showing how the Navy could dismantle the cartels in one foul swoop. We'll also weigh the pros and cons of deploying an aircraft carrier to the Gulf of Mexico, or into the Gulf of America, or as the cartels might be calling it soon, hey cartels, meet your new daddy, the F-35. But would that just be complete overkill, having an aircraft carrier in the Gulf of America? We'll talk about that moving forward. But let's set the stage with some facts. On August 8th, 2025, President Trump signed a directive ordering the Department of Defense to prepare military options against cartels designated as foreign terrorist organizations, like the Sinaloa Cartel and Jalisco New Generation Cartel. Secretary of State Marco Rubio confirmed this shift, stating the administration will deploy military intelligence and other tools to crush these groups. This leaves cartels as nervous as Dwight Schrute when he's super paranoid trying to guard the Dunder Mifflin office.
Whenever I'm about to do something, I think, would an idiot do that? And if they would, I do not do that thing.
On April 30th, 2025, the Department of the Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control sanctioned 3 Mexican nationals and 2 entities tied to the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. They sanctioned them for fentanyl trafficking, fuel theft, and crude oil smuggling with the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, also known as FinCEN, that's just fun to say. They issued alerts on cartel smuggling schemes. So as you can see, the DoD in conjunction with the US government, the Department of Justice, they're all honing in and targeting the flow of resources to the cartels. So now they're not just hitting the cartel smuggling routes, they're actually taking down some of the legitimate sources of funding that the cartels are using as well. You can think of this as being similar to the Houthi rebels when the US targeted their oil ports because the Houthi rebel oil ports were smuggling in Iranian oil and then selling them in a nefarious way, hiding the actual source of that oil. So as you can see, with these foreign terrorist organizations, they're focused on continually making money, not just off of drugs, but off the flow of legitimate energy sources as well. So the Department of Justice announced on July 15th, 2025 that Operation Take Back America is hammering cartels with massive drug seizures and arrests, leveraging task forces like the Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force or the OCDETF. Wow, that's just a very beautiful, smooth flowing acronym. Whoever came up with that one, that's next level. Wow, nice work. But the Navy's bringing some heavyweights, the USS Gravely, the USS Spruance, and the Aegis combat system. So meet the Navy's heavy hitters, these Arleigh Burke class guided missile destroyers that are patrolling the Gulf of America and the Caribbean since March of 2025. These ships are like the Avengers assembling, but in a way less cheesy way. In this case, it's a more badass way, and they're loaded with enough firepower to make cartel smugglers scatter. But at the heart of their power is the Aegis combat system. That's a centralized automated command and control, a C2 system. That's a better acronym, C2, much better than the acronym before. But this system was developed by Lockheed Martin, and it's designed to detect, track, and engage threats from sea, air, and underwater. It's equipped with the AN/SPY-1 radar. That's a high-powered 6 megawatt, multi-function phased array radar. The Aegis can track over 100 targets simultaneously at ranges exceeding 100 nautical miles, spotting cartel fast boats, drones, or narco subs with precision. Its integration with the Mark 41 vertical launch system, or VLS, and weapon systems like the RIM 66 and RIM 156 missiles allow these ships to neutralize cartel aircraft or drones, while the AN/SQQ-89 anti-submarine warfare undersea combat system, the ASWCS-USWCS. Wow, this acronym almost beats that first one. Wow, this is like an acronym showdown. But that warfare combat system enhances detection of narco subs. And in the fight against the cartels, Aegis is a game changer. So even though this Aegis system was meant for state-on-state, larger actors going up against countries, it can be used and utilized in ways that help it perform guerrilla warfare type tactics. And its ability to coordinate real-time data from the P-8A Poseidon patrol planes, MQ-9 Reaper drones, and satellites creates a networked defense, and that ensures no smuggling vessels slip through. On May 25th, 2025, the USS Gravely used Aegis to track and seize 860 pounds of cocaine worth $13.65 million in the Caribbean. This proved its real-world impact. However, Aegis does have its limitations. Its complex software can occasionally reassign target tracking numbers, potentially causing confusion in high-stress operations, and its high maintenance demands require skilled crews to maintain readiness. Still, its ability to integrate air, surface, and subsurface threats makes it a cartel's worst nightmare, as detailed from that latest capture of the cartel assets. The destroyer's arsenals include a 5-inch Mark 45 gun firing 20 rounds a minute, capable of sinking a fast boat or sending a warning shot. Got 20mm phalanx close-in weapon systems, or CWIS, or CWIS. See, it's better to say CWIS than spell out the whole acronym. Finally, we're getting this acronym thing down. Those are Gatling guns that can shred cartel drones or speedboats, plus 50 caliber and 25mm machine guns for precision strikes. Need to escalate? No problem. These ships pack 96 vertical launch systems, or VLS cells, with Tomahawk cruise missiles for long-range strikes. Though hitting land targets requires diplomatic clearance, of course, working in close conjunction with Mexico, and assuming that Mexico has rooted out their corruption, that close connection could actually work. But if the corruption's still there, then actually targeting the cartels before they're tipped off and alerted, all bets are off if that corruption is still rooted in the Mexican political system. But hopefully President Sheinbaum is actually smart, noting that rooting out that corruption is the only way forward, but we'll see as things play out. And then the RUM, the RUM-139 anti-submarine rocket, the ASROC, the ASROC. That's just a fun acronym to say. Finally, again, we're getting better with these acronyms. Yes, but those rockets and Mark 54 torpedoes that are part of that RUM-139 system from the Mark 32 tubes obliterate narco subs. And each ship can also deploy Seahawk helicopters armed with Hellfire missiles and machine guns. And those ships can also drop Coast Guard law enforcement detachments, LED ETSs, see what I did there? Or Navy, Sea, Air, and Land SEAL teams like Ethan Hunt pulling off an impossible mission in Mission Impossible, but in this case, that mission has swagger. And then the man array and flying drones, the stealth tech can change the game. So let's dive into that secret weapon, the man array. It's an uncrewed underwater vehicle, or a UUV, that was developed by the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, and Northrop Grumman. This 30 to 40 foot beast, at least the size of the ones that we know about, it's shaped like a manta ray. It glides silently using buoyancy-driven propulsion powered by ocean currents and thermal gradients. It can lurk underwater for weeks, carrying sonar, cameras, or jammers to disrupt cartel tech. This thing moves with more swagger than the Batmobile in The Dark Knight. Its artificial intelligence brain enables autonomous patrols, dodging obstacles and mapping smuggling routes. Tested in 2024 off the Southern California coast, it's now hunting narco subs as we speak in the Gulf of Mexico, launching from destroyers or shore bases. Cartel narco subs, fiberglass vessels hauling 5 to 10 tons of drugs worth up to $200 million, are no match for this UUV. Built in jungle workshops, these narco subs cruise at 5 to 10 knots with basic global positioning system navigation, and they need to surface to vent every few hours. The man array's sonar tracks them effortlessly, relaying coordinates to Aegis-equipped ships or aircraft. It could also deploy jammers to scramble communications or nets to foul up the propellers of the narco subs. And then you add in an MQ-9 Reaper, flying drones streaming live infrared video from 50,000 feet, even the MQ-4 streaming this type of surveillance, and cartels are outmaneuvered like a villain facing John Wick's precision. They're no match, and those Reaper drones teamed up with the UUVs are basically saying, we're gonna kill everything.
I'll kill them. I'll kill them all.
Reapers operated by the Air Force could loiter and team up with the Navy. They could loiter for over 24 hours and spot those cartel fast boats or the narco subs using synthetic aperture radar. And if things escalate, a Reaper could drop a Hellfire missile no problem, though the Navy might prefer capturing the narco sub or the narco fast boat to avoid some sort of legal fallout with Mexico. But this text combo, the UUVs, tied into Aegis and other airborne assets, is a cartel's worst nightmare. But now for the main event, let's talk about 4 hypothetical scenarios that are extremely realistic that could be happening as we speak. And this will show how the Navy, the Air Force, and Special Operations Forces could dismantle cartels with the intensity of a John Wick fight scene. Scenario 1 is called the Narco Sub Night Ambush. It's 3 a.m. in the Gulf of Mexico, 60 miles off the coast of Texas. A narco sub packed with 7 tons of fentanyl thinks it's untouchable, skimming 10 feet underwater. The manta ray's been stalking it for days, its sonar feeding coordinates to the USS Gravely's Aegis combat system like a predator setting up a kill. Aegis locks on and a P-8A Poseidon sweeps overhead, its infrared sensors confirming the target as the sub surfaces to vent. An MH-60R Seahawk launches from the Gravely, carrying Navy SEAL teams who drop onto the sub like John Wick storming a nightclub. And an MQ-9 Reaper streams live video to a joint command center. A cartel fast boat attempts to rescue, but the Gravely's 5-inch gun fires multiple shots, slamming through the hull of the boat. Coast Guard law enforcement detaches teamed up with the SEALs board, seizing over $140 million in fentanyl. And then the manta ray jams any other subs in the area's global positioning system, and now there's multiple subs sitting there like sitting ducks, and you've got the team ready to go. You've got the SEALs, you've got the Coast Guard law enforcement team likely teamed up with the Mexican equivalents that are going to now go in and play whack-a-mole on multiple of these subs, because it's been said some of these subs travel in packs to ease their navigation requirements. Now let's talk scenario number 2. It's called the Cartel Cove Raid. In a hidden Mexican coastal cove, a Jalisco new generation cartel meth lab operates under jungle cover, thinking that they're in the equivalent of a Dr. Evil hideout, which at this point is no match for the systems that are going to go up against it. The manta ray's cameras map the dock and boats, feeding intel to an Aegis combat system. Aegis tracks cartel lookout while an MH-60R Seahawk drops Marine Force recon into the jungle at midnight, moving with the precision of Jason Bourne in the Bourne Ultimatum. An Air Force AC-130 gunship circles above. Its 105mm howitzer obliterates cartel speedboats. The Force recon team storms the lab, capturing key players, while a ship's 25mm guns pin down any reinforcements coming from the sea, leaving the cartel disorganized and in mayhem. The manta ray deploys jammers, cutting cartel radios, and a P-8 Poseidon guides Drug Enforcement Administration agents to secure the site. The lab's history and the cartels are left trembling. Now let's talk scenario number 3, a high seas convoy takedown. A cartel convoy of 3 fast boats and a decoy trawler haul 6 tons of cocaine in the Caribbean, thinking they're untouchable. The manta ray spots the lead boat's sonar signature, pinging the USS Gravely's Aegis systems. The USS Spruance's Seahawk locks onto the trawler with radar, while the Air Force teams up with the Navy, launching F-16s from southern Arizona. These F-16s are under the control of the United States Southern Command. They buzz over the convoy, rattling crews like a Top Gun flyby. Delta Force operators dropped by Blackhawks from a carrier rappel onto the lead boat, securing their drugs in the blink of an eye. And then an MQ-4 overhead ensures no backups arrive. The cartels are left sweating like a private pilot facing Maverick while he's in full afterburner. And now let's talk scenario 4, called Drone Swarm Disruption. Off the coast of Venezuela, a cartel member uses drones to airdrop fentanyl to fast boats, hoping to dodge patrols. But the manta ray detects a narco sub coordinating with the operation and relays data to the USS Spruance's Aegis system. MQ-9 Reapers spot the drone swarm with infrared, while the Spruance's RIM-66 missiles and Phalanx close-in weapon system CWES shred the drones midair, like Iron Man blasting targets out of the sky. And then SEAL Team 6 arrives with their own fast boats, capturing the crew with John Wick level precision. An Air Force E-3 Sentry airborne warning and control system tracks cartel boats trying to scatter. They guide the Gravely's 5-inch gun to fire upon these boats that are trying to leak out of the area. The Manta Ray jams any type of subs or fast boat communication, and the Coast Guard team sees $180 million in drugs. The cartels are reeling like a villain being struck by Anduril's newest technology. The Navy's ships, the Manta Ray, and Special Operations Forces, powered by the Aegis combat system, are turning the Gulf of Mexico and Caribbean into a cartel's worst nightmare. They're hitting harder than a Die Hard finale. But what about deploying an aircraft carrier like the USS Harry S. Truman in the Gulf, or as the cartels might call it, hey, we don't want to be here anymore because now F-35s are launching and striking our compounds. But let's break down the pluses and minuses. So the pluses of an aircraft carrier in the Gulf of Mexico: force projection. A carrier like the USS Harry S. Truman carries up to 90 aircraft, including F-35 Sea Lightning II stealth fighters and E-2D Hawkeye airborne early warning systems, providing unmatched air superiority and surveillance over vast areas. F-35s can strike or scout deep into cartel territory, covering smuggling routes from Venezuela to Texas with precision-guided munitions. This would make cartels wish they stayed home for the day. But is this type of firepower and air power a little bit too much, and is it a waste? But the logistical support that's required and the smaller amount of ocean that the carrier would be covering might just make it overkill. And not to mention the diplomatic tension. So Mexico's president, Claudia Sheinbaum, would probably freak out about this, and they would probably call this a conventional force used to operate against the cartels. And the Mexican government wants to avoid any type of conventional force and instead wants to focus on those unconventional special forces. So having a carrier there might kind of be a gray area that Mexico is not comfortable with. And the F-35s could definitely be an asset, but F-35s from the Air Force could launch from southern Arizona bases, and they could target cartels deep into Mexico if needed. And again, Customs and Border Patrol will likely be flying drones, and the Customs and Border Patrol drones have already flown missions deep inside of Mexican cartel territory, targeting specific cartels, with high-value targets being at the top of the list. These missions so far have been flown with the blessings of Mexico. So MQ-4s from the Navy could also team up with these Customs and Border Patrol drones, and the Customs and Border Patrol drones could actually pull the trigger in conjunction with Mexico, and that might be easier to stomach for the Mexican government rather than having the MQ-4s or Air Force MQ-9s targeting the cartels themselves. Likely these missions flown by these Reaper drones have been focused on ISR, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance up to this point, but that could spill over at any moment. At the request of Mexico to have these drones armed with Hellfires, these drones could easily target cartel members, cartel convoys, and could team up with the Mexican equivalent special forces and the special operators from the Mexican military that are now being trained hand in hand with US Delta Force and other special operations forces. But the Gulf's tight geography and the nature of the cartel threats, small, stealthy vessels and drones, those favor agile destroyers with Aegis systems and Manta Ray drones. Think naval guerrilla-style warfare. Carriers are built for state-on-state conflict, not necessarily chasing narco subs. And the Aegis combat systems, precision tracking and integration with smaller versatile platforms. But the Navy's new playbook, destroyers, Manta Ray drones, flying Reapers, elite forces powered by the Aegis combat system, hitting cartels like John Wick on his most intense revenge streak yet. This is more intense. This is like if they killed John Wick's second dog, he'd be taking it to this level. So could the tech that's now in the Gulf of America operating as we speak crush narco subs and the cartels for good? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to know what you think about the US Navy taking on and taking out the cartels. Let me know in the comments below, and hey, the best compliment you can give the channel is just watch this video right here. It helps the channel out a ton if you watch this video right here, and I would greatly appreciate it. So I'll see you on this video right here. Until next time, this is Ryan, Max Afterburner, also known as the fighter pilot next door, signing off.